Few players draw as much attention on and off the court as Kyrie Irving. The first overall pick has been proving his draft position since his start in the league, leading to his vital part in helping the 2016 Cavs overcome insurmountable odds to win the title. But it seems ever since he demanded a trade from the Cavs leading into the 2018 season, there has been an aura of negativity around Irving. It seems every season now, there is a new bit of controversy surrounding Irving off the court, and the media is of course eager to report on it. But what do the players really think of him? Well, today, we are talking about what NBA players really think of Kyrie Irving. Before we get started, it would be awesome if you could help us out by liking and subscribing below, and comment what kind of content you want to see next from us. Without further ado, let's talk about some Uncle Drew. There's no doubt Kyrie is an on-court superstar. Since being drafted with the first overall pick back in 2011, Kyrie has earned himself all-rookie first-team honors, 6 All-Star trips, 2 All-NBA nods, and of course, a championship in Cleveland. All of this while showcasing some of the most mesmerizing ball handling highlights ever. It seems like he would be a dream to play alongside. But ever since his departure from Cleveland, it seems that there's a constant stream of media attention to Kyrie's off-court habits and his other difficulties as a teammate. This became especially true in his short tenure with the Boston Celtics following the Cavs trade. Kyrie spent a short 2 years with the Celtics, especially considering he missed a hefty 22 games his first season with the C's, including most of their playoff run, and then another 15 missed games the following year, which led to a subpar performance in the semifinals by Kyrie, in which he shot only 35% from the field, and Boston was eliminated by the Bucks in a 4-1 series. Signs started to pop up in the early part of the 2019 season that the chemistry wasn't quite there with the squad. When after a rough start to the season and a disappointing home loss to the Magic, Kyrie told the media, "Being on a team like this, where it's a challenge for me to figure out where do I fit into all this and how do I lead this team the best way I can with other great players. So it's all a learning experience." It wasn't a red flag, but hindsight tells us that the fit never did happen, and things weren't getting better from there. The Celtics continued to have an up-and-down season, and on multiple occasions, Kyrie went back to the critiques of his teammates' inexperience, especially when it came to finishing games. This may have been the reasoning for his teammate Jaylen Brown telling the media, "We've just got to have each other's back at the end of the day. We can't make comments, we can't point fingers. We've just got to continue to empower each other and have each other's back." Now, while Brown didn't call out anyone in particular, it was clear to everybody who was doing the finger-pointing, and for the rest of the season, reports on Celtics drama was as up and down as their gameplay. There were numerous team meetings and the infamous Marcus Morris interview in which he said playing for the team wasn't fun, and it hadn't been for a long time. And throughout all of this, blame kept getting shifted toward Kyrie. But was he really the sole cause? After another frustrating loss, the C's were reeling on a plane ride home. But former teammate Al Horford told the media that it was actually Kyrie who was trying to rally the troops. He said, "Kyrie was instrumental because he was the one that initiated everything as far as being like, hey, let's have conversations, let's play cards, let's do this, let's do that on this plane ride. And we were all engaged at that point." So, from Al Horford's perspective, Kyrie was at least attempting to extend the olive branch. Nevertheless, while the Celtics finished the season with a good run of games, Marcus Smart's injury, Gordon Hayward's poor play, and Kyrie's inefficiency led to 4 straight losses to the Bucks, and they were once again booted from the playoffs. A few days later, Jeff Goodman of Stadium wrote that Kyrie was a chemistry killer with no semblance of leadership qualities who would call out his younger teammates publicly and even do the same with his coach. While this may be some hyperbole on the part of Goodman, an anonymous player did say, "Everyone respects his talent, but he's hard to play with. It's all about him." It was becoming clear that Kyrie wasn't a great fit in Boston, and fans could tell their chemistry was off, so it seemed inevitable when he left for the Brooklyn Nets the following year. Now in a fresh city, with the shocking signing of Kevin Durant, albeit an injured Durant, Brooklyn Nets fans and Kyrie were looking for an exciting restart on a team with championship potential. And Kyrie sure showed out his first game in Brooklyn, scoring a 50-piece in his very first game with the team. The Nets actually ended up losing that opener, but it was clear that the mood around the fanbase and the team was nothing but optimistic. The Nets got off to a decent start to the 2019-20 season, even without Durant. But it wasn't long until more reports of Kyrie's infamous mood swings started up in the media again. There was an especially widespread report of Kyrie having an episode on a team trip to China that left everyone scratching their heads and left some team officials a bit queasy. So once again, Kyrie was in the headlines for being a toxic player that is unable to commit to a leadership role. But who was saying this? These mood swing reports with the Nets never really do have a name to them, and if you ask his Nets teammates, they certainly don't back up the narrative. His teammate DeAndre Jordan joked about the reports, sarcastically telling reporters, "Kyrie's a bad guy. He's terrible. He's moody. I don't like to be around him." Jordan went on to say that the team is just competitive and that it's human to have mood swings. But it's not just one person. But most importantly, he said, it's not affecting our team. I think Kyrie's a great guy. I don't think Kyrie's done anything negative, anything that I've seen that he's done, and he's a friend of mine. So if he was, I would tell him. And DeAndre isn't the only one to back up his teammate. Spencer Dinwiddie is always one to tell the media how Kyrie is a fundamental part of the team, calling him an open source of knowledge and communication. So while Kyrie's name keeps getting brought up in the media for some sort of controversy or another, his teammates seem to always have his back, especially KD, who continuously defends him to the media and was calling him one of those special players before they were even teammates. But it's hard to gauge how teammates really feel about each other. It's a thin line they have to tread between honesty and spoiling team chemistry. So, what about former teammates and former players or players around the league that have never been on his team? So let's start with former players. On TNT at halftime, when Isaiah Thomas was filling in for Kenny the Jet Smith, he put Kyrie's skill set into a pretty good perspective, saying, "He's got the stuff that will embarrass you. Steph Curry, he tied in it. He can get a shot off. He got that classic traditional stuff. Kyrie got that stuff that makes you go home and cry to your mama." We usually see older players tend to stick on the side of fellow retired teammates when they talk about who is better at what. But former player and coach Byron Scott even had to give it up, saying that Kyrie is up there as one of the nastiest ball handlers to ever play, even over Allen Iverson. Recently retired players like Vince Carter and Paul Pierce have also had Kyrie's back, even through all the drama. Paul Pierce said he believed that Kyrie could be that leader the Celtics needed, and as we all know, it clearly didn't work out. But he's got the older star's trust. This was especially true when it came to Kobe Bryant. Kobe on multiple occasions talked about Kyrie in really high regard, from the time he came into the league and throughout his retirement. Shortly after he retired, Kobe praised Kyrie to no end, but he said that the next elevation of his game was the way he forged his relationships with his teammates. Kobe knew that if Kyrie could get the best out of every one of his teammates by zeroing in on them on a personal level, that he would be able to have tremendous team success. Kobe was even the first one Kyrie FaceTimed after he and the Cavs won the championship in 2016, and when Kobe was talking about the moment, he shared that he felt closest to Kyrie when it came to the mentor-mentee relationship, saying, "I was really proud of him, so I'd say Kyrie is the one I'm closest to." It was high regards from such a highly regarded guy like Kobe. Players around the league have great things to say about Kyrie too. While many have never been his teammate, they still are often in awe of his skill set. In an ESPN interview, when Jimmy Butler was asked who he wanted to play with the most, his answer was Kyrie. He even went as far as to say he's his favorite player. And while Steph Curry has been somewhat of a rival to Kyrie, he too has given it up to him on multiple occasions, calling him on the court unpredictable, which is a key for great scorers and playmakers. And in order to guard him, you just have to try and take one thing away and hope for the best. There's almost too many players that have great things to say about Kyrie's talent to mention. But what about the guys that have played with him and no longer have the burden of biting their tongue? While we know things with the Celtics didn't really work out, and there was without a doubt some tension with Kyrie and the team, looking back, Jason Tatum seems pretty grateful for Kyrie's time there. Tatum, now butting in as a superstar, said that Kyrie helped him a lot on and off the court in Boston, and that he gets a lot of undeserved blame. Things with the Cavs didn't seem bad until the end, and Kevin Love and LeBron never had a bad word to say about Kyrie before some recent drama. Love said he's only had good experiences with Kyrie, and he too said that there was a bunch of unfair media criticism around him, and LeBron was tireless in telling the media how special Kyrie was and how he was going to develop into an MVP in the league. It's only recently that the two pieces of the big three have felt jaded by Kyrie or disappointed in his actions. After Kyrie recently called the media pawns who weren't worth his attention, Love called it a sure sign of disrespect. And when LeBron went on the Road Trippin' podcast, he talked about some backhanded comments Kyrie made earlier this season, when he said he was always the best option on every team going down the stretch. But now that he's playing with KD, there's another guy that can finish games, maybe even easier than himself. Needless to say, LeBron, being a four-time Finals MVP, who has gone on tremendous clutch tears throughout the playoffs, felt a little jaded. He wasn't angry at Kyrie. He said, "I was a little like, damn." I wasn't like, "Oh, you trippin'. I've hit game-winning shots my whole life." I was not like that. I was like, damn. LeBron went on to show his disappointment, telling Richard Jefferson the whole time they played together he wanted nothing but for Kyrie to turn into an MVP, capping off his comments saying, "It kind of hurt me a little bit." So where are we with Kyrie now? After an unexplained hiatus from the team, Kyrie is back playing with the Nets. And with the recent blockbuster acquisition of James Harden, all eyes are going to be on Brooklyn, meaning there is surely going to be no less media coverage of Kyrie. Nothing is absolute, so it's hard to say if Kyrie really is a difficult teammate or not. It's clear that many teammates have high praise for him, but he certainly bumped heads with others. Let's just hope he doesn't burn more bridges along the way. So that's it for today. What do you think about Kyrie? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to help us out by liking and subscribing below. But above all else, have an awesome day.